In part 1, I told you how it started with a jacket and a duffel bag, a bag I'd never seen stuffed in the back of my guest room closet. Men's jeans, size 32. I'm a 36. A Samsung charger in an iPhone household, and a toothbrush still in its packaging, like someone was planning to stay a while. I didn't confront my wife. I didn't blow up. I'm a logistics man. 8 years Army, supply chain. When something shows up where it doesn't belong, you don't move it. You trace how it got there. So that's what I did. I faked a business trip to Cincinnati, had my buddy Kyle drive past my house, and watched a black Dodge Charger back into my driveway like it belonged there. I got the plates. I got a name, Trent Lawson, a 29-year-old barber with 2 evictions, a DV charge, and an Instagram full of selfies. He worked 20 feet from my wife's salon. I hired a lawyer. I moved half the savings. I documented everything. And then I sat in his barbershop chair and heard him say it himself. Shorty's husband is never home. House is paid off. I'm basically living there for free. That's where we left off. I had a plan, a lawyer, and a date circled on the calendar. Tuesday. This is what happened on Tuesday. I went to work at 6 like always. Clocked in. Ran my first audit of the dock. Talked to my team lead about a pallet discrepancy in Sector 4. Normal morning. Normal Garrett. At 10 o'clock, I walked into my supervisor's office and told him I had a personal emergency. He didn't ask. I never take time off. So when I say emergency, people believe it. He waved me out. Handle your business, Cole. I drove home. The route is 22 minutes from the warehouse. I took it at the speed limit. No racing, no running reds. I parked on the street 2 houses down and walked. The Charger was in the driveway, backed in like it belonged there. I used my key. The house was quiet except for the bedroom. Music. R and B. Something with a bass line coming through the Bluetooth speaker Brooke keeps on the nightstand. The bedroom door was open. I'm not going to paint you a picture of what I saw. You're smart enough. They were in my bed, in the middle of the day, in the home I owned, on sheets I paid for, and the Bluetooth speaker was covering the sound of the front door opening. I stood in the doorway. I didn't yell, didn't charge, didn't throw anything. I just stood there until they noticed me. It took about 4 seconds. Brooke saw me first. Her face did something I don't have a word for. It was like watching someone fall off a cliff in slow motion. The color left her skin so fast it was almost medical. Trent scrambled. He was up and grabbing at clothes with the coordination of a man who has never once been in a real confrontation. All mouth, no spine. Bro, listen, he started. I'm not your bro, I said. My voice was level. I know because I was listening to it from somewhere outside myself. I don't know you. I will never know you. You have 15 minutes to get your things and leave. Trent looked at Brooke. Brooke looked at the floor. Trent grabbed his jeans, his shirt, his phone, his shoes. He didn't even put them on properly, just clutched everything to his chest and walked past me in the hallway like I was a wall he had to navigate around. He didn't make eye contact. The gold chain was swinging. I heard the front door open. I heard the Charger start, that unmistakable rumble. I heard it back out of the driveway, my driveway, and then it was gone, and it was just me and Brooke. She was sitting on the edge of the bed now, wrapped in the sheet, and she was crying. Not the kind of crying you do when you're sad, the kind you do when you've been caught. Garrett, please, let me explain. It's not what? He had a key, Brooke. She flinched. He was getting mail delivered here. His clothes were in my closet. This isn't a mistake. This is an arrangement. You moved someone into my house. I was going to end it. I swear to God, I was going to. You gave him a key to my house. I said it quietly. He was getting packages delivered here with his name on the label. That's not something you do when you're about to end it. That's something you do when you've already decided. I'm just the last one to know. She stared at me, and I could see it happening behind her eyes. The calculation, the measuring. She was trying to figure out how much I knew, how long I'd known it, and whether any combination of words could undo this. I've seen that look on soldiers who got caught lying on inventory reports, the brain running numbers on a situation that has no good answers. I pulled a folded document from my back pocket. Janet Fraley had filed the divorce petition that morning. Timed it so the paperwork would be ready before I walked through my own front door. This wasn't a warning shot. This was the shot. "You've been served," I said. "Janet Fraley is my attorney. Her number is on the front page. I suggest you find one of your own." She looked at the paper like I was handing her a death certificate. "Where am I supposed to go?" And I'll be honest, that was the only moment in the entire thing where I felt something crack inside me. Because I'd spent 6 years with this woman, I'd loved her, I'd planned a life around her, and now she was sitting on a bed she'd shared with another man, asking me where to go, and the answer was as obvious as it was brutal. "That was never my problem to solve," I said. "You already have someone. Go to him." I walked out of the bedroom, out the front door, got in my truck and drove to Kyle's place, sat on his couch and didn't speak for about an hour. Kyle handed me a beer and sat on the other end of the couch watching a baseball game with the volume low, and he didn't ask a single question. Around 7 o'clock, I said, "I need to buy a new mattress." Kyle nodded. "Yeah." "You do?" Brooke moved in with Trent. Think about that for a second. The woman who had a house, my house, sure, but a house with a yard and a guest room and a kitchen she renovated, was now living in Trent Lawson's one-bedroom apartment on East Livingston Avenue, the same apartment that had 2 evictions stapled to its address in the county records, the apartment of a man who owed $4,700 to a previous landlord and bragged about living for free in other people's homes. She called me 14 times in the first 3 days. I answered once. Day 2. "All communication goes through Janet Fraley from now on. Her number is on the papers." "Garrett, just listen to me for 5 minutes. Janet Fraley, the number's on the papers." I hung up and blocked her. Every platform, phone, text, Facebook, Instagram, all of it. Scorched earth on the communication lines. Brooke started running her version of events to everyone who'd listen. I heard it secondhand, through Kyle, through people at work, who knew people who knew people. According to Brooke, I snapped. I threw her out. She was scared. I was controlling. She was the victim. I didn't respond, didn't post a statement on social media, didn't call her friends to set the record straight, didn't make a single public move. What I did was take the Ring doorbell footage, the clips of Trent letting himself in with a key, staying 2 days, leaving with a duffel bag, Brooke hugging him goodbye, and I sent it to one person, Leah Harper, Brooke's older sister, the woman who introduced us. Leah and I had always gotten along. She was the one who told Brooke to give me a chance when we first met, back when Brooke thought I was too serious. Leah saw something in me that Brooke eventually agreed with, and for 6 years, Leah was the family member I was closest to on Brooke's side. I sent the footage without commentary, no message attached, just the clips. Leah called Brooke. I don't know what was said. I don't need to. What I do know is that 30 minutes after that call, Leah texted me, "I'm sorry, I didn't know. She's my sister, but what she did is wrong. I won't be in the middle of this, asterisk." And that was it. Brooke's story, the one where she was the wronged wife and I was the villain, crumbled from the inside. The one person who should have been her strongest defender had seen the footage and walked away. Janet had filed the petition the morning of the confrontation, Franklin County Domestic Relations Court. 3 days later, Brooke was formally served through her attorney. Clean paperwork, no ambiguity. Brooke hired her own attorney, a guy named Rob Otterman, mid-range family lawyer, the kind who advertises on bus benches and has a website with stock photos of handshakes. Otterman's play was straightforward, argue that Brooke had a right to part of the house because she'd contributed to the mortgage and paid for a kitchen renovation during the marriage. On paper, it wasn't a terrible argument. 6 years of mortgage payments from a joint account, an $8,500 kitchen remodel she paid for out of her own money. Otterman was betting that a judge would see her as a contributing partner and award her a slice of the home's appreciated value. Janet dismantled it piece by piece. The house was purchased before the marriage. The down payment came from an inheritance, separate property under Ohio law. The mortgage was in my name only. Yes, some marital income went toward payments, but bank records showed that 85% of those payments came from my salary. Brooke's contribution was marginal at best. And the kitchen renovation. Otterman waved around a receipt showing Brooke paid $8,500. Janet came back with the credit card statement. Brooke had opened a store card for the renovation, a card that was still carrying a $3,200 balance. She hadn't paid $8,500. She'd paid $5,300 and financed the rest. And the card? Co-signed by me, my name was on the debt. Brooke's investment in the house was partially paid for with my credit. But the real turn, the thing that broke the case open, came during discovery. Janet subpoenaed Brooke's bank records. Standard procedure in a divorce. What came back was not standard. Over the previous 4 months, going back to before I found the bag, Brooke had been making transfers. 300 here, 500 there. From our joint savings account to her Venmo, and from her Venmo to Trent Lawson, $1,800 total. Phone bills, gas money, rent when he was short. She was financially supporting the man she was sleeping with, using money from our marriage to do it. Janet showed me the records in her office. I sat across from her and looked at the spreadsheet she'd printed out, dates and amounts, highlighted in yellow, a trail of transactions that told a story more damning than any doorbell camera could. I didn't yell, didn't throw the papers. I sat there for a long time, and then I said, "She was paying him to replace me with our money." Janet nodded. She didn't add anything to that. She didn't need to. In legal terms, what Brooke did was dissipation of marital assets. Not criminal, not fraud, but something an Ohio court absolutely considers when dividing property. It meant that when the settlement numbers came together, that $1,800 was going to be subtracted from Brooke's share. And more importantly, it meant that any remaining credibility Brooke had as a contributing partner in our marriage had just evaporated. Otterman knew it. He came to Janet with a settlement offer before they ever got near a courtroom. The deal landed like this. I kept the house. Full ownership. Brooke waived all claims. My 401k and pension contributions from before the marriage stayed mine. The portion accumulated during the marriage got split. Brooke walked away with about $11,000 from retirement. The joint savings, $14,000 remaining after my half withdrawal, went to Brooke, minus the $1,800 she'd funneled to Trent. So she netted roughly $12,200. She assumed the $3,200 in credit card debt for the kitchen renovation, no alimony, 6-year marriage, both employed, no kids, no significant income gap. Ohio courts don't award spousal support for that. Brooke signed. The whole thing was finalized about 4 months after I filed. 4 months. That's how long it takes to legally end 6 years. 6 weeks after the divorce was final, Kyle told me Trent was gone. He heard it through a mutual acquaintance, one of those information chains where somebody knows somebody who knows somebody. The details were almost comical in their predictability. Once Brooke was no longer a gateway to a house and a savings account, Trent lost interest. Brooke, in a one-bedroom apartment with a $34,000 salary and no cushion, was a fundamentally different proposition than Brooke, with keys to a three-bedroom house and a joint savings account she could quietly drain. Trent moved on. His Instagram told the story. New location tags, a different woman's apartment, a condo in Dublin, north of the city. Same playbook, different target. Brooke was crashing on a pull-out couch at her friend Megan Pratt's place, still working at Lux Beauty Collective, the salon where this whole thing started, because she couldn't afford to quit. 3 weeks after Trent left her, I got an email. She couldn't text. I'd blocked her everywhere, so she found my personal Gmail, the one I barely used. It was long, pages long, if emails have pages. She said I was the love of her life. She said Trent manipulated her. She said she was lonely because I was always working, always at the warehouse, and Trent gave her attention I wasn't giving. She said she made the worst mistake of her life. She asked if we could just talk, just as people. Not about the divorce, just talk. I read it once, then I forwarded it to Janet with a note. Archive this in case she tries anything. Then I deleted the email, added her address to my spam filter, and closed the laptop. No coffee meeting, no closure, no dramatic scene at a restaurant where we both cry and hug and promise to grow from this. That stuff is for movies. In real life, when someone burns your house down, you don't invite them back to see the new foundation. I kept the house, but keeping it wasn't enough. I had to make it mine again. The kitchen Brooke renovated came out first. I ripped the backsplash off myself on a Saturday morning, pulled the cabinet doors, spackled and sanded. Kyle helped me paint. My mother drove up from Dayton with a casserole dish and opinions about tile colors. I went simpler this time, white subway tile, butcher block counters, nothing fancy, just clean. I bought a new bed, threw the old mattress in a dumpster behind the warehouse, asked one of the dock guys if he could help me load it, and he said moving, and I said upgrading, and that was the end of the conversation. I painted the guest room, replaced the curtain, changed the back gate latch to one that locks with a key from both sides. Weekends I started grilling in the backyard, nothing elaborate, burgers, chicken, whatever was on sale at Kroger. Kyle came over most Saturdays. My mom made the trip up every couple of weeks and would spend half the visit telling me the yard needed work, and the other half telling me she always knew Brooke wasn't right. I never said it while you were married, she told me once, standing at the kitchen counter, unwrapping a Pyrex dish of her potato salad. But I'm saying it now. That girl had restless eyes, always looking at the next thing. You can't build a life with someone who's always looking at the next thing. Thanks, Mom. I'm just saying. I know. One evening, maybe 2 months after the divorce, I needed to store some things in the guest room closet. My mother had brought over a box of my grandfather's belongings, his old watch, some photos, a pocket Bible he'd carried in Korea, his discharge papers in a plastic sleeve. I'd asked for them after the funeral and never had a proper place for them. I opened the guest room closet, same shelf. I stood there for a second. The space where the duffel bag had been was just space, a shelf. Nothing behind the blanket except the wall. I put the box of my grandfather's things inside and closed the door, and that was it. A year out from the divorce, and here's what my life looked like. Amazon promoted me. Shift operations manager, which came with a bump to $74 a year, and a desk I never sat at because I'm not a desk guy. Kyle started dragging me to a gym in Westerville, one of those no-frills places with rubber floors and chalk buckets, where nobody talks to you unless you ask for a spot. I started going 3 days a week, then 4, not because I was rebuilding myself or whatever people say. I just found out I liked picking up heavy things and putting them down. I wasn't dating. Not because I was closed off to it, more because I wasn't in a rush. Kyle brought it up once, said his cousin's wife had a friend from work, and I told him, I spent 6 years thinking I knew what my life looked like. I want to actually know this time. He left it alone, and then, on a random Thursday, I walked into a barber shop in Clintonville, a new place I'd been meaning to try, local spot, good reviews. The barber who took me was a younger guy, talkative, the kind who treats the chair like a confession booth. Halfway through the cut, he mentioned he used to work at Kingsman Cuts. My hand tightened on the armrest, half a second, maybe less. Then I let it go. Yeah, I left that place, the barber said, running the clippers around my ear. One of the guys there, Trent, was bad news. They finally got rid of him, caught him stealing product, selling it out the back door. I sat still. You go there before? He asked. Once, I said, a while ago. Yeah, you didn't miss much, he finished the cut. I looked at myself in the mirror, cleaner than I'd looked in years, sharper, lighter somehow, though that might have been the haircut talking. I tipped him well and walked outside. The sun was out, one of those Columbus spring days where the sky finally remembers it's supposed to be blue. I got in my truck and drove home, and that's the end of the story. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned to the channel. There's a lot more coming.